Welcome to episode 31 of Take Care of Yourself with me, Tara Swigert, and I'm here with my friend Jolie of Jolie Creates.
Hello.
And this week is our Afterword episode. So every month we are going to take a look back at the books we read and talked about, and our further thoughts on them, because every time after we finish recording, like a week later, we text each other, wait, I wish I would have said this. I just had this break. I actually put this book into practice and it's got me thinking about something else we didn't talk about. So we are kind of wrapping back up, going back around and talking about the stuff that has come up for us. We also want to read your thoughts, comments, questions. If anything we said was unclear about a book, or if you just totally disagree with us, or you totally agree with us. I actually much prefer to hear if you agree with us, but you can share all of that on our Facebook group, Take Care of Yourself with Tara and Jolie. I'll do a post every month asking you for your feedback before we go live on this episode. So make sure you head there. You can also leave us a review on iTunes. You can comment on YouTube, and we'll read those to you each month in the afterwards. But this is our very first one, so welcome. You are here on the ground floor. So Jolie, you have thoughts, more thoughts on the book Recovery by Russell Brand that we talked about earlier in the month.
Yes, so we started the month with the book that we read together, which was Recovery. And in that episode, Tara mentioned a book that she had also recently been reading, which kind of ties in, and it's called Bright Line Eating. And the idea of the book is it's written from sort of the point of view of a compulsive overeater who then set up these bright lines to help her deal with food addiction issues and other addiction issues. And we talk a lot about body positivity, and along with body positivity comes intuitive eating. But intuitive eating is something both Tara and I struggle with, just because listening to our bodies in terms of hunger and what we should feed it, just doesn't work. So for me, it doesn't work because I overthink everything and I can't shut that part of my brain off yet. And so I also can't make decisions sometimes. If I go long, I'll go long periods without eating. So I'm trying to get so much better about this, and it's been amazing this month. But I might eat when I get into work at 11 and then not eat again until 7 at night when I get home. And I will then literally eat everything I can get my hands on in my kitchen because I'm just so hungry. So Bright Light Eating puts some rules in place for that. Don't go more than 4 to 6 hours without eating, and you just eat 3 meals a day and you don't snack. And then the parts that I didn't necessarily need is she has some strict bright lines about flour and sugar. And I'm okay with a little bit of sugar. I don't have it every week, but it doesn't derail me. And the same thing with flour. I don't eat white flour, but I do eat buckwheat flour, and it doesn't derail me to have that once a week. I'm totally fine.
Whereas and she actually talks about, so part of the whole thing is and she's a researcher. So she has all this research that she's been doing the whole time. It's kind of now like a research project. But she has what she calls a susceptibility scale, which ties into recovery, which is how we got talking about the book, because you answer questions based on how often do certain things prompt you to go overboard or to feel out of control. And her susceptibility scale is actually really applicable to all kinds of addictions, which I think I was thinking of it even social media, which we talked about when we talked about recovery, because for some people picking up their phone to answer a text sends them into a vortex of Instagram and Facebook. And for me, it doesn't. So I have a hard time, you know what I mean? It's just, right. I'm not as susceptible to that. Whereas what I'm very susceptible to, I'm a 9 out of 10 on not eating, getting super hungry, eating all the things. Also sugar. It's almost like how alcohol reduces your inhibitions. Once I have sugar, white sugar in the day, my cravings are 10 out of 10 all day. Can't think of anything else. And it's so weird because it's not, oh, I think I want that. It's like a deep biological, chemical cascade of things that are making me obsessive. In the same way that now I recognize a panic attack isn't me thinking about it. It's like a whole thing that is happening to my body because of the chemicals.
It's not about like trying to lose weight. It's like I need some rules around my food so that it's just done for me and that decision's made and I don't have to deal with it. And we talked about this a little bit in the recovery episode about how I'm good with firm lines. Like I don't eat chocolate and it's just a hard rule that I don't do. And then I never think about it. And if I didn't have that rule, I would, every time I see a chocolate bar, I'd have to make the decision of, am I going to eat that or not? Am I going to buy it or am I not? Like every single time. Like if you don't have those thoughts, you may not understand it, but it's like, I can't just walk past a chocolate bar and not see it and make a decision about it until I put in a hard line. And so that's what I took away with it. I've had such an unhealthy relationship with food in the past that I am not at a place right now, and maybe I will be one day, but right now I'm not, where I can just listen to my body and eat what it feels like it wants to eat, because like that just doesn't work for me.
Right. Because what we were just saying about the chemistry is actually like messed up, right? Yeah. So like the signals that tell you, like the signals that tell you you're hungry, the signals that tell you you're full, if you don't eat regularly, those stop working, you know, because that's my thing is I would just go all day without eating and then it would be dinner time and I would be famished. And so like, but I literally didn't feel hungry all day. Like I was talking to somebody about this, like I don't have hunger. If I just eat when I want to, I never have hunger signals until I'm about to faint, like until my blood sugar's super low and I'm a horribly grumpy person. I just don't feel hungry. The way for me to actually, and hunger signals are like good and healthy, right? That's what like they're supposed to work. But I don't, the only way to get them back is to regularly eat 3 meals a day at the same time, all with protein. And I have to do that for a couple weeks. And then it's like, because a lot of it has to do with your gut microbiome, and like that starts to heal and my brain starts to heal. But for me, if I have sugar or flour, it will like, it just messes it all up. And I can tell because I can feel like, but on top of all this, I feel like we have to acknowledge too, and this goes back to body positivity, that there might be a lot of stories around what it's right to feel like. Honestly, like I would feel guilty if I felt hungry. Like the thought of feeling hungry was like, I shouldn't feel hungry. Like does that make sense? That's like not healthy either. So I feel like the idea that you're just going to be able to tap back into your intuition easily and clearly, if you're super affected by the patriarchal society telling you to be thin your whole life, that you might be really, really separated from your intuition.
Yeah. So we're talking about bright line eating, and then after like the episode, we started talking about how bright lines have helped me in terms of work, because I really struggled to work from home, and I always struggled to feel like I had done enough. And that feeling completely stopped when I started working in the office. And I think it was because I had bright lines around work. Like once I left my office, I didn't have to work anymore. Like my day was done and I could go home and like not think at all about work once I got home, because I was at home. Like they had put this bright line around it. And like that realization, like just kind of helped me think about like, where else could I put bright lines? Like, okay, I can work Saturday mornings, but like Sunday's a completely bright line, like no working at all on Sundays. I barely pick up my phone even on a Sunday. And so, yeah, so I like the idea of bright lines around food, which have helped me, honestly, the eating 3 meals a day and not snacking and not letting myself go more than like 4 hours has been amazing. Just in terms of like keeping my energy level stable throughout the whole day. But yeah, bright lines in other areas of our life as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, so I would recommend that book, even though we weren't intending to talk about that book. Like just if any of the things we said resonated with you, like if you struggle to like follow through with something, sometimes, and this is something you and I both talk about with our clients, like sometimes you just need a rule that then you're always going to follow. And that kind of builds a trust in yourself that you're going to always, like, you're going to be able to follow through with it. Mm-hmm. And so if things feel too wishy-washy, like shore it up with some bright lines that you're always going to keep to.
Yes. So that was recovery. And then the next week we talked about simplicity parenting, which is about having routines and flow. And I noticed one of the comments we got on Instagram was something like, oh, I wish I had this when my kids were younger. It would have been really helpful. Now I have a 7 and 9-year-old now. And so they're not babies, they're not teenagers. But after we talked about that, the book and how routines help reduce anxiety, and we talked about how my kids struggle with like my work schedule and like understanding when I'm going to be home, it made me think like, how could we implement more routine and like flow in our house? And so what we started doing, we've only done this 1 week, we did it last week, is Sunday family meeting, where so independently, my husband bought my kid a planner because he's been reading about strategies for helping kids with Asperger's cope with various things in their life, and he thought a planner would help him be able to plan out his day because he really likes to know what's happening. So he gets his planner and I come with my planner, and we get the calendar out and we all plan our week. And it was so helpful because like we got out all the school letters and it was like, oh, the kids have a school trip on Wednesday. Oh, they need wellies. Oh, do we have wellies? No, we don't. So like we realized on Sunday night that we had to buy wellies for Rowan instead of realizing Tuesday night, which is when it would have happened. And like we were all able to get on the same page. We knew like what days the grocery shopping had to be done and like what we had to get. And I could say like, oh, I'm recording on Wednesday, so that day I'm going to be home later than normal. And it was like so helpful.
That makes me so happy. And I'm actually, so, this week I was at doTERRA convention with Liz and Dave. They have 4 kids and they travel a lot, usually just one at a time. And there's always a parent home. And every day they got a call from one of their kids has more of a, he more wants to know like what's going to happen. And they're like, all the other kids are like, they don't care whether we're there or not because their niece, it's Liz and Dave's niece, so I guess it's their cousin or something. Like girls in their 20s are there taking care of them, having fun with them, taking them to the beach. Like it's a fun time, but they would, and the oldest one wants to know who's taking me to surf practice, who's taking me to this. He's like on the swim team now. He wants to know that he's going to get to go where he wants to go. And one of the younger kids just wants to know, like, where is everybody who will be here? When will the nieces trade off? And like, I'm going to tell her your planner idea because I think that would help a lot. Because he every day would be like, okay, when do you guys get home? Okay, Mom, when do you leave for your next trip? And then Dad will be with us. And then when will Dad leave for his next trip? And like, because they have a lot of coming and going, their kids are super stable and calm and like, they don't seem anxious, but they were asking, one kid was asking the same question every single day. And they would be like, it's okay. And, they would like calmly tell him again. But he just needs to like hear it. And I think the idea of like having a planner that he could look at on his own would give him a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah. We just got him one of those because it's the end of the year. We just got him one of those like weekly tear sheets where it just says like Monday through Sunday or whatever. And you just like fill it in and then you tear it off and recycle it. And we'll talk about in 2019 if he actually wants like a planner book or what he wants. But he was just like, he wrote down when he has a spelling test and when he has to bring in his ukulele. And I think it's one of those things, when you keep so much in your head, it naturally makes you anxious because you are trying to remember everything. And just like him being able to write it all out and to then me be able to like tell him my schedule and I could make note of things going in his. And my husband had a Post-it note because he is not a planner person, but I wrote down things for him like, you got to make sure you do this week or whatever. Like it just helped us all feel so calm. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, my 6-year-old refused to come to the family meeting because he said it was a waste of time.
I was actually going to ask, what did he do during the meeting? Because like, I can't imagine the 6-year-old wanted to like take notes with you.
If he had showed up, we would have made it shorter for him and then let him go. But because he stuck in his heels and refused to go, I was like, well, you didn't come to the family meeting, so you lost your family privileges, which is iPad and video games. And so now he's been writing me notes all week that tell me how much he loves me because he's trying to get the video games back.
I love it. I love it. much.
But
That's amazing.
another thing we did at the family meeting, which was something my husband found, is we had mistake confession, where we all went around and talked about mistakes that we had made that week. And in the idea, this is something we talked about in a way past episode, the idea, like, my son struggles with making mistakes. Like, he thinks if he makes mistakes, it's a fatal flaw. And so, yeah, sharing all mistakes that we had made lets him see, like, everyone makes mistakes. And my husband talked about, like, something that went wrong at work and, like, how he fixed it. And so, yeah, so I think the family meeting idea is definitely something we'll keep doing, because it just planning out the whole week, having some flow in the week, but then also just like other things you can introduce to the meeting. I liked it. And so that was from Simplicity Parenting.
That's awesome. And if I was a kid, I would love that. Like, not only the one-on-one time, but just like somebody was telling me what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I like, it would have helped so much. Like, I make Jay do it now. So we also have a whiteboard calendar where I write all the days that the bills are going to come out. And then if anybody has an appointment, I put it on that. And on days, because with his job, he does visits, only a couple days a week. So like, he writes down like J car on days that he's going to need like car that gets better gas mileage, which is a car I usually drive. And just like, and then with the foster kids coming, like I've been really strict about us using the calendar for everything, so that when I put those appointments on there, like, we're already all used to looking at it.
Yeah. So we do, we have like a regular calendar where we can mark off things. And it's one of those ones where it has like columns for each. So you can put in like Ian and me and my kids and the dogs if they have a vet appointment. But it's just like, there's so much going on now. Like, it's such a big difference with me going out of the house. It changes like the feeling of everything. And so, I definitely think just the purpose of, like, I do it for my business, right? Every Monday I sit down, I review the past week, and I look forward to the next week and think what's got to be done. And I slot in, okay, like Monday I have to edit Tara's vlog, and we're recording this, like, but we haven't ever done it as a family. And they don't need to know like the specifics of my work, but they do need to know things that now affect them in terms of when I'm coming home or whatever. So, yeah.
I love that. That's so great. Yay! Next, I'm going to read a review we got on iTunes, and then we will both recommend something. So the iTunes review, which go leave a review on iTunes, it helps people find us, says, "These women speak from their heart and make learning so much fun." Yay! Aww. And the title was heartfelt, knowledgeable, and fun. So thanks. Yay! So we thought we'd each recommend something, because obviously we talk about books, but we both are doing a lot of other consuming delicious stuff we think you guys would like. So what do you want to recommend this week?
So I actually want to recommend 2 fiction books, because I have been obsessed with them to the point, like, I haven't read any nonfiction other than that While You Were Breeding book. So 2 new books came out this month. If you like crimes or whodunits, the first one is by Sophie Hannah. So Sophie Hannah has taken over for Agatha Christie, and I thought I was going to hate this, but she's really, really good. So she writes Hercule Poirot novels. The book is called The Mystery of Three Quarters. I think it's the 3rd one that she's written in this Hercule Poirot series. It's so good. Like, it's like having a new Agatha Christie. She writes Poirot really well. You don't feel like it's a new person. And yeah, it's just, if you like Agatha Christie, definitely recommend checking out Sophie Hannah. You could just pick it up from the one that just came out, but start back at the beginning, because they're all so good. And then the second fiction book that I've read, or not quite done, almost done, is Lethal White, and it's by J.K. Rowling, but she writes under the name of Robert Galbraith. And so she has this detective, Cormoran Strike, and this is book 4. So again, if you haven't read them, go back to the beginning, because this is one where you want to, the characters continue through, and like there's a plot point that continues through all 4 books. It's so good. My husband was like, "Oh, do you wish like she hadn't gotten found out?" Because what happened was, when she first published this Robert Galbraith book, it got leaked right before the book was published that it was actually J.K. Rowling, and he's like, "Oh, do you wish that hadn't happened?" The thing is, if it hadn't been J.K. Rowling, I probably wouldn't have picked up the first book, just because I don't typically pick up new crime series by men. Like, it's just not going to be on my radar unless it got rave reviews everywhere, because it is really, really good. Unless people were really talking about it, it wouldn't have come on my radar. But because it was her, it did. But now I don't keep reading them because it's J.K. Rowling. Like, I don't even think of it. It's just so good. So that's my 2 recommendations, is to look up Sophie Hannah and to look up Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling's Cormoran Strike series.
I need to read those. So I didn't even know about those. Someone posted, "Oh, I'm getting the new J.K. Rowling book," and I was like, "What?"
I think that was probably me.
It's probably you. If it had been you, I feel like I would have just asked. Yeah, I don't know. Did the most recent one just come out though?
Yes, it just came out. Like, I went to the store the day it came out and bought it.
Yes, I remember that. And then I think someone else posted it.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know. So I'm going to go look that up. That's for sure awesome. So I have not been reading as much fiction as I had all summer because, I don't know, something about my plane trip, there was crying babies, and also just like had a hard time like focusing to read fiction on my, which is weird because usually I bring a novel, like a hardcover novel, on the plane because I'm paranoid all my electronics are going to die, so I can't rely on my Kindle. And I will like just read one novel the whole plane trip to like fully leave the world of the plane and the people. And I just didn't do that this time. Instead, I listened to podcasts because I just wanted my headphones in, because every time I took them out or stopped listening, I just got too distracted. I listened to a lot of episodes of, there's so many, but I'm going to just say 2. So one, I feel like I've talked about before, at least on Instagram stories, which is Jen Gotch's Okay Sometimes. It's by Jen Gotch, who's the founder of Bando, which is a line of like lifestyle house goods. They have a line of planners. They actually just partner with Starbucks for the second time, so a lot of the stuff at your Starbucks is like Bando designed. They're like an indie design company. And she is such a weirdo. And she talks about it openly. So her podcast is really more about mental health, because over the last, I think, really years, she's been sharing more of her own mental health stuff on her Instagram stories. Then Bando released a series of necklaces, where all of the proceeds went to end this organization that works to end stigmatization against mental illness. And Jen has bipolar and ADHD and panic attacks sometimes. And she talks about it all really openly on Instagram stories. But on her podcast, it's like she puts it together and explains it to you. So one of her first podcasts where she talks about like her mental health journey, super helpful. She does another one where she talks about how to find a therapist. She's done one on anxiety. A recent one was like, I cry at work. And she did an interview with one of her employees who is having a hard time, like things you can do to feel better right now. And she talked about the difference between, that we've talked about, actual self-care and like things that make you feel worse, but are self-care, like Netflixing and wine and binging on brownies. Yeah. All things that you do to like relax or unwind, but actually don't help your well-being. And in that episode, they talked about different apps they use. And I actually started using one and downloading. It's called Grid Diary to track things. So super like useful information a lot of the time. And she's just so weird and funny and does different voices and sings songs. It's really weird. Like, it's not like any other podcast I've ever heard. But she's working with the production company at Girl Boss Radio. So it is like, she does have producers, and yeah, it's good and interesting. I recommend it. I mean, it's one of those podcasts where it's like, if you don't like her, you're not going to like it. But if you do, you're going to be like, this is amazing. And I listened to it a lot in the past couple months on road trips and plane trips and everything. It's not really one I can like listen to and wash the dishes. And then the second one I listen to all the time is Dear Hank and John. So it's Hank and John Green's podcast. Hank Green's first book just came out. It should arrive any minute. It's a novel called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. John Green is the author of The Fault in Our Stars and all the other teen drama books that make you cry. And they've been doing Vlogbrothers forever, which I found them, somebody recommended Vlogbrothers to me like 8 years ago. And so I like their weekly podcast. What they do is people write in and they give dubious advice. So, like, people ask all kinds of weird questions. Like, I have a friend who comes over late at night and she doesn't seem to pick up on my signals that I want her to leave. How should I handle it? They will like both give real advice and then also dubious advice. Like, just go to bed.
I love that.
I know. And some of it's serious and some of it's like not, but they're very, word that's coming to mind, but it's because I spent all week with doTERRA people, is like heart-centered. They're very like, actually, they make jokes, but it's like all very loving and like the right thing to do is this. And this is like being a good human or a good adult.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's like my washing dishes thing. It always makes me laugh.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So those are our recommendations for this month.
Yeah, if you read the books or you listen to the podcast, come and let us know on our Facebook group, and go leave a review on iTunes or give us a thumbs up on YouTube. It helps other people find us.
Awesome. So we will be back next week with our October book pick.
So the book is called Body Positive Power, which is at Body Posi Panda on Instagram. We'll be reading this together and talking about it next week. If you haven't read it yet, read it, chat with us about it.
Awesome. So we'll talk to you guys next week.